So this is a youth showmanship done in Shelby, North Carolina at the Evans Spring Spectacular Show on June 4th, 2021. And I thought it would be helpful for the youth out there to see what it looks like during a showmanship. So, as you can see, there's several kids in the ring. I believe the ages, you go in like young, youth, and intermediate, and experienced. And this one is intermediate. I believe the ages are from 12 to 15 years old. And so you can see this is a big showmanship class. So the judge is in black, and he's walking behind the kids right now. And as you can see, the kids will move and go from one side of the goat to the other, always keeping the goat between them and the judge. And he was kind of messing with them there to see what they would do. He's trying to relax them as he is starting to come down the line. And so this is the part right here where he's actually looking at the overall goat. He's looking at the clipping job, because it's showmanship. How good did the kid clip the goat? And hooves and udder and all of the shape. Now watch, as you can see, the young lady move to the other side, again keeping the goat between her and the judge. That way if the judge turns around to look at her goat, he can see the entire goat. You can also see some kids are in all white, they're in their show whites, and some are not. It is preferred to be in show whites. That would be top and bottom. And you want to be well presented. Obviously this is showmanship, so the judge is actually judging the showman, which is the human, not so much the goat. And in this part, this is a lot of times where the judge will come down the line, look at the goat, but as he's looking at the goat, he will typically ask questions. Now, for whatever reason, this judge did not do that, but typically they will ask questions like, where are the hocks? What part of the goat is the withers? What part of the goat was the chine? That kind of thing. And they really expect the youth to know the answers to these questions. So now what he's wanting them to do, he's wanting them to, they're all lined up. He's wanting them to start walking here in just a second, I believe. And what they're doing, they keep bending over and setting up their goat. They're making their goat more presentable. So you'll notice that young lady was having a hard time with her goat. She had to actually go back out and back in. And that gentleman is having a hard time with his goat. Goats do not always act great during showmanship. And it's the best time in the world for them to act up. So judges are lenient on that. They understand that your animal is not always going to perform the way you want it to perform. So, as you can see, the young man is having some issues with his, but he's doing pretty good there. It's a bigger goat. It's not your average Nigerian dwarf there. That's a bigger, I think it's a Oberhausley. Now they're pointing, and what they're doing, what the judge is doing, is telling them, okay, I want you to go between this goat and that goat. And he wants to see how the kid reacts and how the kid is able to move the goat and set the goat back up. And so he's going to go through this and move them around a whole lot. Now pay attention. This young lady went in front of the goats. She brings that goat all the way back around, made a big loop, and back up. Later on in the video, he will explain to everyone how wonderful that was, and that basically won her the showmanship in this ring. Now the kid there, he went around front. He makes a big loop. He is also sure to switch sides so that, again, the goat is in between him and the judge. And now he's setting up that dough. Also, something that's important in showmanship, you want to use a goat that is used to you. Notice the kid on the outside here, that goat is really used to that kid. Now, the one that was giving the little boy a hard time, maybe she's just acting out, or maybe he just hasn't handled her as much. And so it's just important for, if you're going to do showmanship, to practice with the goat and practice setting it up, practice leading it. Now the one on the end is giving him a hard time. But you get the idea. The more the goat is used to you, the more they won't think anything about being in a strange ring with a bunch of strange goats and strange humans. And again, you'll notice her. Now, she did not make that big loop like the other girl did before. So they're just working on moving, maneuvering, and setting back up. And this takes a little while, but he's pretty good. He's telling them where to go. I've never actually seen quite this much movement, but this is, like I said, a very large class. But he really makes them move a whole lot. And again, the goats, they get nervous, or they don't like to stand in the same position for very long, so they get fidgety, and so they start to move around, and the human kid needs to move them and make them set up again. And sometimes it just takes going out of the ring, as you can see what she's doing, going out, or not out of the ring, but out of the line, and setting that dough back up. And she's doing a good job of setting her up, but as you can see, the goat does not want to stay put, and that is normal. And so all he's doing right now is just looking again at the goats, seeing how the showmen react. And again, he pulls her, and so she's setting her goat right back up. And again, notice the big, long loop that she made with her goat. And in this video, we really can't hear what he's saying. So, and I can't remember everything he said, but basically he's, wanting them to relax, and he's trying. It's a teaching moment. It's just really good because this is the future of goat shows. So we want these guys to really know how to show an animal. And notice again, she's struggling with that dough, but that dough is throwing her head up. But she gets her to go. And it's just, consistency, working with the goat. It's very important when you're leading the goat to not ever put your hand on the bottom of their chin. You want your hand to be on top of their head, because they will not lead if you're pulling from the bottom. They only lead if you have your hand on the top, because that's just their guide. And again, she's just really having a hard time with this goat right here, behavior-wise. Young man on the end. On the end. There So they are going to line back up, and they will all be in a line, and he's telling who to go when. So that's another very important thing. You want to set your goat up, but you also want to keep your eyes on the judge as much as possible, because he doesn't know your name. He doesn't know your goat's name. And he will just point and tell you what to do. And so now he's telling them to walk. And the only way he told them to walk is he looked at the girl up front and told them to walk by pointing. And so now they're doing their final lap in the ring. And this is just, for him to watch them walk. He likes to see them walk. This particular judge likes to go, instead of staying in the center of the ring, he likes to go on the outside of the ring. And so he makes them start and stop. And then when they stop, they're to set their goat up. And so that's what they're doing.
All right, start them up.
And so now he's going to tell them to walk again. See? He's telling them to go, and she wasn't looking, so he's having to tell her several times. That was about 3 or 4 times he had to say that. So again, just make sure you're watching. And then he'll tell them to stop, and they'll set their goats back up again. And this again is just part of showing. Whether this is showmanship or whether this is in just a regular ring, this is what they do. And they like to see the front of the goat, the side of the goat, the back of the goat. They will tell people to line up like he did before, side by side. And he'll say, I want a side by side starting here. But again, right now, he's just wanting them to walk, stop, set up, and then walk again. Now, she's having a little bit of fun time with that doe right there.
All right, stop.
And you can also notice there's does of all sizes, all different breeds. It does not matter what you take into the show ring for showmanship. It just needs to be a goat you're comfortable with showing. And this particular one keeps trying to jump up on the fence and give her a hard time. Okay, so they're still walking.
All right, stop.
He did this for a really long time. And I can honestly say this is probably the longest showmanship age group that I've seen. It really took a lot of time. I've cut a lot out of the video to make it a little shorter for you guys. But he's just still having them walk and stop, walk and stop. And so he's going to continue to tell them to do this.
All right, stop.
And if you notice, he's getting shorter and shorter between each walk. And so now he wants them, he's saying, line up side by side, I believe. I think this is right. Yep, and if you'll notice, she's really struggling getting this doe to go, and she just keeps working. Now, the person behind her is not going to go in front of her. Now, he is going to guide that doe, because the doe, this is on the video here it says 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes, but it's actually that doe has been in the ring a lot longer than that, and that's not normal. Typically, the rings do not last that long at all. And so she's working with that goat, trying to get it settled down, and then they pulled up side by side, and they're setting their goats up, and again they're keeping the goat in between them and the judge as he walks down the line. Now what he's doing is he's trying to figure out who he wants to go first, and so he wanted to see them walk forward. And so now he's chosen his first place. So that's the young lady that did the very wide circle out with her doe a couple different times. She also went in front of the head when she was moving down the line, never around the back. And now he will choose his second place, which is the young gentleman, and third place, the young lady. So hopefully this video has helped you when it comes to showmanship. And next up, we will share with you how we did at the show.